You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Don't struggle to align your organization's cybersecurity with business risk. Get the only solution that goes beyond reacting to threats with vulnerability and risk monitoring. You need the next evolution of MDR, and only Critical Start delivers it. Critical Start doesn't just monitor and respond to threats. They put you in control by detecting suspicious activities, quickly responding to contain threats, and identifying your most critical assets and protecting them against vulnerabilities and exposures. With continuous visibility, expert guidance, and measurable risk reduction, Critical Start has redefined what it means to manage cyber risk. Demonstrate provable security maturity to your leadership while positioning your program to achieve the greatest risk reduction per dollar spent. Stop fearing risk and start managing it with Critical Start. Visit criticalstart.com and request a demo today. That's criticalstart.com. Secretary Blinken and Senator Warner weigh in on cybersecurity at RSA Conference. Ransomware profits are falling. Proton Mail is under scrutiny for information sharing. A senior British lawmaker blames China for a UK cyber attack. Medstar Health notifies patients of a potential data breach. A study finds cybersecurity education programs across the U.S. vary widely. Brandon Karpf, our N2K CyberWire Man on the street, stops by to share his thoughts on the 2024 RSA Conference, and an Australian pension fund gets lost in the clouds. It's Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. It is great to have you with us here today. Thank you for joining us. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken unveiled an international cyber strategy at the 2024 RSA Conference in San Francisco. The strategy focuses on collaborating globally to shape cyberspace and digital technology development and governance.
Now, it's true that move fast and break things is literally the exact opposite of what we try to do at the State Department. But it's also true that when it comes to our mandate to try to deliver on the priorities that matter most to our fellow Americans, the issues that are the bread and butter of this conference are increasingly a major focus of our diplomacy. And that's really why I'm here today. Today's revolutions in technology are at the heart of our competition with geopolitical rivals. They pose a real test to our security. And they also represent an engine of historic possibility for our economies, for our democracies, for our people, for our planet. Put another way, security, stability, prosperity, they are no longer solely analog matters. The choices that we make today, that you make today, will be decisive, and they will reverberate for generations. That's why it's important for me to be here with you and to share how, under President Biden's leadership, our administration thinks about this inflection point.
The strategy outlines 4 goals: advancing economic prosperity, enhancing security to fight cybercrime, promoting human rights and democracy, and tackling other transnational challenges. This plan emphasizes digital solidarity, involving mutual aid for cyber attack victims and supporting partners, especially emerging economies, in developing secure and sustainable technologies. The strategy criticizes Russia, China, and other authoritarian regimes for exploiting technology and seeks to counteract their influence in shaping global internet governance. Key actions include promoting a secure, resilient digital ecosystem, coordinating with allies on digital governance, and expanding U.S. capabilities to combat cybercrime and influence global cyber policy. Elsewhere at RSA Conference, Senator Mark Warner, head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, emphasized the ongoing challenges in defining electronic communications service providers under the renewed Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. During a discussion, Warner acknowledged the complexity introduced by a House amendment that broadly expanded this definition, potentially increasing U.S. surveillance powers. Despite privacy concerns, Warner defended the provision but committed to refining it in the upcoming Intelligence Authorization Bill. He stressed the necessity of updating the definition to align with technological advances since 2008, while ensuring it remains narrow to avoid overreach. Warner expressed confidence that resolving this issue would not be a significant obstacle. Ransomware operations are becoming less profitable despite an increase in attacks, with both the number of ransom payments and the average amount paid declining. This trend is attributed to better cyber resilience among organizations, availability of decryptors by law enforcement and cybersecurity firms, and increased law enforcement action. Chainalysis reports a 46% drop in ransomware attack payments in 2023. Meanwhile, law enforcement successes, such as the disruption of the Lockbit gang and Quackbot botnet, have undermined criminal operations and trust within these networks. The exit scam by the Black Cat Group, which once commanded over 30% of ransomware payments, has also damaged the ransomware-as-a-service business model. These developments reflect a growing resistance to paying ransoms, bolstered by concerted efforts from the private sector and law enforcement to disrupt ransomware ecosystems comprehensively. Proton Mail, a Swiss-based security email service known for its privacy, is under scrutiny once again due to its compliance with a legal request involving Spanish authorities and a Catalan independence advocate. This incident echoes a previous case where Proton Mail complied with Swiss law to provide a user's IP address, leading to the arrest of a French activist. The current controversy involves Proton Mail giving a recovery email to Spanish police, which then led to further identification processes with Apple. This sequence of actions highlights the ongoing tension between maintaining user privacy and adhering to national security demands under anti-terrorism laws. Despite Proton Mail's encryption of contents, the company confirmed compliance with 5,971 data requests in 2023, emphasizing the challenge of balancing privacy with legal obligations. A senior British lawmaker, MP Tobias Ellwood, suggested that China was likely behind a cyber attack targeting UK Armed Forces personnel data, including names and banking details, through a third-party payroll system. This claim, which Ellwood described as having the characteristics of a Chinese operation to potentially coerce individuals, was met with strong denial from Beijing, labeling the accusations as utter nonsense and reaffirming its stance against cyber attacks. Despite this, the UK government has not officially blamed China, describing the challenge posed by Beijing as epoch-defining, but emphasizing caution in attributing the attack. This incident adds to ongoing tensions, with the UK and US previously accusing China of various cyber intrusions. Researchers from Leviathan Security have discovered a vulnerability named Tunnel Vision that significantly undermines the security of virtually all VPN applications. This attack exploits a DHCP server setting, option 121, to reroute VPN traffic to allow attackers to intercept, read, and modify data that should be encrypted within the VPN tunnel. This vulnerability impacts VPNs on most operating systems except Android, which does not implement option 121. While Linux offers a partial mitigation, the breach remains largely exploitable on other systems. The flaw exposes the limitation of VPNs in securely anonymizing user traffic, especially when connecting to hostile networks. The findings emphasize the necessity for more robust security measures for VPN devices, like running the VPN within a non-bridged virtual machine or using a cellular device's Wi-Fi for internet access. Medstar Health has notified just over 183,000 patients of a potential data breach after unauthorized access to 3 employee email accounts was detected, as reported to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The breach occurred intermittently between January 25th and October 18th of 2023. Although there's no evidence that patient information was viewed or acquired, the possibility cannot be dismissed. Exposed data may include patients' names, addresses, birth dates, service dates, provider names, and health insurance information. A review led by Washington State University revealed significant variation in cybersecurity education programs across U.S. institutions designated as National Centers of Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity by the NSA. The study highlighted a lack of uniformity in program types, course offerings, and the depth of cybersecurity content. The research suggests enhancing these programs by incorporating educational theories from fields like educational psychology to better prepare graduates for the rapidly evolving cybersecurity industry. The findings stress the need for closer alignment with industry expectations and advocate for continuous adaptation to meet the changing tactics of cyber adversaries. The study serves as a benchmark for comparing programs and shaping future education strategies in cybersecurity. Coming up after the break, my N2K colleague Brandon Karpf shares his thoughts from the 2024 RSA Conference. Stay with us. Every day, your IAM tech debt grows. Your multi-generational services struggle to work together. Building an identity fabric can fix this. It makes all your identity tooling stronger and allows you to connect any app to any service you want to use, with zero coding, zero maintenance, and zero app downtime. Strata's identity orchestration platform separates the identity logic from your applications, so you can optimize existing IAM tools and manage them in a single control plane. Now, every vendor, standard, and architecture work together. In short, building your identity fabric means you can secure your non-standard apps, keep your complex access policies, retire outdated IDPs, and modernize in record time. So build your fabric with Strata Identity and get rid of tech debt for good. Visit strata.io/cyberwire, share your identity priorities, and receive a pair of AirPods Pro. Offer valid for organizations over 5,000 employees. Connect today at strata.io/cyberwire. The IT world used to be simpler. You only had to secure and manage environments that you controlled. Then came new technologies and new ways to work. Now, employees, apps, and networks are everywhere. This means poor visibility, security gaps, and added risk. That's why Cloudflare created the first-ever connectivity cloud. Visit cloudflare.com to protect your business everywhere you do business. And joining us from the RSA Conference in San Francisco is my N2K colleague and our executive editor, Brandon Karpf. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Dave. Good to catch up with you today. I'm excited to talk about the conference.
Well, let's dig in here. You've been on the ground for, about 2 days now. Let's just start off with initial reactions. How do you describe this year's show?
Well, as always, those first 2 days feels like an entire week. So the conference is bustling as everyone would expect. Every major company is here. Every minor company is here. The community has come out in force. So it is crowded and bubbling. And the keynote yesterday by Antony Blinken was particularly focused on really the security threats that we are facing as a industry and as a cybersecurity profession. And I thought it was the right choice to have him come and give this really candid perspective on the security industry and as it stands today.
Well, I mean, speaking of candid perspectives, I mean, I think it's no secret that the hot topic, certainly from the marketing point of view, is generative AI. How do you walk the show floor and try to make sense and cut through what I think a lot of people are looking at skeptically as noise?
Right. Yeah. And certainly the booth designers and event marketing folks have basically taken the last 5 years of marketing language and shoved it into one sentence, it seems like, which is next gen XDR Gen AI, or, some combination grab bag of those terms. And I do think it is very easy. And I've had these conversations with numerous people already. Leaders in the security industry and major CISOs at large, Fortune 500 companies just in the last day. And it's easy to get cynical and skeptical about this idea of AI, that it's breathless, that it's in the midst of the hype cycle. But I think what we need to do as a profession, as security professionals, is take a step back and look at the fundamentals, right? What is AI? Why is this the moment for AI? But what does it really mean from the first principles of information security?
Well, let's dig in there. I mean, how should we approach this?
Well, when you think about this moment and why AI is having this moment, what is artificial intelligence, especially generative artificial intelligence? And I think why it's having a moment right now is you look at the core of it. It is extraordinary amounts of data, right? That's the fuel, and access to incredibly cost-effective and powerful compute resources, right? So you have incredible amounts of data, right? Insightful data, unique data that a lot of folks can get access to. And you have access to these compute resources that are very cost effective and more powerful than anything we've ever seen before. And when you combine access to unique data, massive amounts of data, with that powerful compute, you have something that could actually be quite useful and meaningful to a security professional, right? It is providing or giving you the environment where you could elevate insights and extract insights from that data and make them useful through compute. And when you bring those things together, you have something actually quite powerful. And so when we look at these companies who are pitching AI products and new capabilities and all this product marketing language, what I really encourage the security professional and the CISO and the SOC manager and the analyst to do is look at and ask who has access to the unique data sets that could provide value to a security professional, and who can leverage those, whether structurally or technically or just in a business model, with compute resources to extract insights. And when you combine those two powerful things, that really chocolate and peanut butter of big data and big compute, you have something really useful for the security professional. And so when we ask the question, who's going to come out with something helpful, who's going to break through the noise with something useful, look at those intersections. And I think that's where the signal will be.
The show itself, I mean, as you approach scheduling the limited time that you have there, how do you come at this? Something that is as big as RSA Conference is, do you have any words of wisdom for folks who may be first-timers?
Certainly. I accept the fact that there's no possible way I can get to it all, and there's no possible way that I can see it all and connect with everyone or everything I want to. So it's really a triage, right? There's a couple things that I personally think is really important. The early stage expo, seeing who's coming up and who's getting attention. A few of the keynotes and talks where you really think about from the strategic level, where is this community moving and going? And then a couple of the events in the evenings. For example, last night I was at ForgePoint and InQtel's event, which is primarily focused on national security. And, those are the types of things that I focus on, and really curating my own experience around the topics I find really important. Again, national security, early stage companies bringing new technologies and new capabilities to the fore. And then, finding those individuals that I know that will have something interesting to say, the various CISOs and thought leaders that we connect with on a daily basis here at CyberWire. The last piece of advice, which I would offer to everyone, is make sure you schedule time for lunch which is something I've personally forgot to do this year. It's the little things that really matter.
Right. Don't forget to eat. Don't forget to hydrate and wear comfortable shoes, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Those creature comforts. That are necessary. But it's about building a curated experience. What do you want to get out of it? And what I wanted to get out of it, knowing that there was going to be a huge amount of hype around AI, I wanted to come in here and curate an experience for myself where I was breaking through the noise to find the signal. And that's this initial insight of the combination of big data and big compute in a really meaningful way for the security operator.
Having been to the conference many times myself, from year to year, there can be a shift in tone. Sometimes you sense that the crowd is optimistic. Other years, you feel as though it's more cautious. What's your sense from the crowd this year?
I think it's a little cautious. The community, and I've heard this actually numerous times from people in very different positions in the community just in the last 2 days, this idea that over the last few years, we've been asked to do more with less. And that has just pervaded the whole industry. Do more with less, cost savings, resource saving, and then trying to apply technology to limit resource spend and resource allocations. And so I think the sense I'm getting, the community is a little tired of that. And I would encourage any business leader out there to do not ask your people to do more with less. And if you do, they should respond with, no, let's do less with less. I think that real view of what you're able to accomplish given the resources you have really matters. And I see it in the faces and in the conversations I'm having. The community is a little tired right now. And the breathlessness that we have around issues like, critical infrastructure security and international relations, geopolitics, hacktivism, and, the massive ransomware gangs that just we keep fighting, but they keep popping back up. There is a little bit of exhaustion starting to creep in. So that balance and that health and the proper resourcing of these teams, I think, is something that the community needs to focus on in the coming year.
Brandon Karpf is executive editor here at N2K CyberWire. Brandon, thanks so much for taking the time for us today.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Are lengthy security reviews pulling attention away from your security program? With the largest network of trust centers, Vanta can help you streamline security reviews to win customer trust, save time, and close deals fast. Proactively demonstrate security by showcasing key resources like your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 and provide real-time evidence for passing controls. And when a security questionnaire is required, Vanta takes the first pass for you. Visit vanta.com/cyber to take a self-serve tour. That's vanta.com/cyber. Australian firm Unisuper, a superannuation fund, the U.S. equivalent would be a defined benefit or defined contribution plan, recently faced a week-long systems outage traced to a series of rare issues at Google Cloud. These issues caused misconfigurations during the provisioning of Unisuper's private cloud and activated a secondary software bug, affecting both primary and secondary systems. This incident occurred shortly after Unisuper transitioned many of its workloads from Azure and its own data centers to Google Cloud, specifically using the Google VMware engine for easier migration. Despite the disruption, Unisuper plans to begin progressive restoration of member services, including online access and mobile app functionalities. The fund also highlighted its use of multiple cloud providers, which helped mitigate data loss. Google Cloud has since taken steps to prevent such occurrences and is working continuously with Unisuper to restore all services, and they emphasized this was the result of cascading internal errors and was not the result of a cyber attack. I guess Unisuper found out the hard way that not every cloud has a silver lining. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K CyberWire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your teams smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. This episode was produced by Liz Stokes. Our mixer is Trey Hester, with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Our executive editor is Brandon Karpf. Simone Petrella is our president. Peter Kilpie is our publisher. And I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. And now, a word from our sponsor, Zscaler, the leader in cloud security. Cyber attackers are using AI in creative ways to compromise users and breach organizations. In a security landscape where you must fight AI with AI, the best AI protection comes from having the best data. Zscaler has extended its zero-trust architecture with powerful AI engines that are trained and tuned by 500 trillion daily signals. Learn more about Zscaler Zero Trust Plus AI to prevent ransomware and AI attacks. Experience your world secured. Visit zscaler.com/zerotrustai.